Welcome everyone, this is Planet Fields and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin.
Hi.
And Sanswinda.
Hello.
Hello everyone. And this week we actually have some news and we're going to begin with Borer Update 23.5 Preview Number 1.
Yeah, I really wish that they had Bullroar up longer than a day, because I didn't even think to check Bullroar until Friday, because they've been putting it up on weekends. So I'm thinking, I'll check and see if Bullroar is up for the weekend. No, it was up Wednesday, and then they took it down Thursday.
Oh,
what?
well.
Why?
Because they wanted to make sure that they had the feedback back so that they could have a significant...
Well, the feedback they got back was, why did you only put it up for one day?
No, they got a lot of feedback from the burglars.
They did get a lot of burglar feedback back. I actually, and they got a lot of, significant feedback back from people who don't play burglars who are complaining about the burglar changes, which I did not understand, aside from people apparently just really like to whine whenever they make changes.
People who don't play burglars were complaining about the burglar changes?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. If they're not, because burglars are going to be able to do more damage, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe there's people complaining play creeps
there's people upset about the fact that burglars are going to be able to potentially do more damage. And they don't play burglars. It's just, I don't get it.
Well, anyway, the idea of this...
And the burglars seem to be divided into two camps, by the way. There's plenty of people who are like, yay! And some people are like, I'm not sure if this is gonna work.
We're gonna, because I'm expecting these updates to go live in, about 10 days from now is about my estimate at the moment.
Yeah, we're thinking for anniversary, right?
Yeah.
Anniversary update?
Yeah, because they do have to do an update for the anniversary, and that's probably why the timing of this is the way it was, is they finally got all the burglar changes in, they finally got all the anniversary stuff in. Let's get this in the Bulwer so we can get 2 rounds of Bulwer. And they want to make sure that this is in on time for the anniversary. So I'm suspecting there is going to be a round 2, hopefully a 2-day one for Bulwer next week, so they at least have a little bit more time for feedback on the second round. We'll see how accurate I am on that. Let's go into what the changes are. The main thing, of course, as I said before, are the burglar changes, but there are a few other things, such as making store purchases on an account with no characters will no longer incorrectly tell you that it failed to deliver character items when the purchases did not include a character item.
Which will be good if you make purchases before making characters.
Why? I don't know, but okay.
Some people probably do on Bulwer. I mean, I can imagine that Bulwer is probably the only place that you would do something like that, because in most cases you're going to already be playing the game before you try to make a store purchase. But that's not necessarily always the case with Bulwer, and a lot of people don't copy their main characters over to Bulwer. Like the first couple times I played on Bulwer, I didn't even realize that copy was a thing.
Actually, the only thing I can think of is that somebody heard about LOTRO or something like this, wanted to get started, and decided, despite all the warnings to the contrary, I want to have my first character as a warden. And wants to go in and buy a warden. That's the first.
Well, I guess there's that too. I mean, or you could try to make a high elf.
Yeah.
Or maybe you already know that you want like 15 characters and your account comes with 2. You know.
Anyway, I had to stretch a little bit in order to come up with some scenarios on there. I don't know if anyone listening in has come up with an idea. If you want to unlock more character slots to create more characters, there's an error such an error would create problems.
See? I'm not the only one who thinks they might need more character slots.
Okay. I suppose that's a possibility. Now, For the Bjornings, they are updating Relentless Maul to do about double damage when it is traded for Brutal Energy, which halves its duration. And Bjorning Blue Line, a Relentless Maul, is now called Menacing Maul, and its duration is no longer halved. Vigilant Lower Reflect Damage Legacy now correctly modifies incoming healing and is named properly. And some Bjorning animations are changed, were not properly applied to male Bjornings, and these have been updated. For the Minstrel, they fixed the Major Ballad description, they improved Hero Strike to now properly increase the Hero Strike's heal component, and instruments should no longer get stuck in the hands after certain skill plays.
That'll be fun.
And the rest is for the burglar.
Yay, burglars!
Yeah.
A lot of stuff for burglars.
Yes. The basic goal is to increase the burglar's general DPS, fix some general structural issues with their skills, improve their group survivability, and streamline their play a bit. Damage on most skills have been increased and shuffled about in an attempt to put more skills in a usable range of DPS. Heals have likewise been rebalanced. All melee skills have their range increased to a minimum of 3.5. Most of the burglar skills had their fast trait removed, but this only really had an effect when the prior skill had an execution time longer than its animation time, and I fixed most of those to be the same, so in practice it shouldn't actually make any difference. Subtle Stab is still fast, so you can pretty easily test to see which skills are and aren't shortened by throwing a fast skill in there and can provide feedback on the change. Find Footing is now an instant. Provoke now has a 15-meter range and a 6-second cooldown, and provides a 20% crit chance bonus on your next attack. And Provoke provides a stacking times 3 self-buff that halves the damage of the next attack against you. This is intended as a group play defense to help burglars build up a buffer against those large boss attacks. It's also useful solo, but nearly as much so as it is impossible to build a stack when you are in the main target of the attacks. Provoke no longer penalizes the party's crit chance against the target by 2%. Mischievous Glee now heals for 10%.
No, you gotta finish what's in parentheses there.
Okay.
Because this is what it's actually been doing for a very long time.
Which is what it's actually been doing for, a very long time. Okay.
It's not supposed to, but that's actually what it's been doing.
Yeah.
So, yay, fixes!
Mischievous Glee now heals for 10% plus 2% per pulse. Self-adulation trait now adds 20% to Clever Retort healing and plus 5 pulses to Mischievous Glee. Both Double-Edged Strike and Flashing Blades are now AoE skills for 3 targets to give burglars better DPS in group pools, especially in Red Line. Coup de Grace no longer has a skill magnitude bonus, but does better base damage. Its cooldown has been reduced from 60 seconds to 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm really bummed I didn't get to test this, because that one in particular looks, because the crit magnitude was a huge thing about Coup de Grace. Right. But if it does better base damage overall, then the crit magnitude doesn't make a huge difference. I love the fact that the cooldown got cut in half, because it basically cut the cooldown in half. And Coup de Grace is a fun skill as a burglar to use. But,
yes, it is.
I'm very iffy about, so those, like, a lot of these changes, I'm like, yay, change. And some of them I'm like, I really wish I had a chance to test it. Is it sad that I actually almost know what most of these skills are? Really, the only class that I know all of the skills is the champion. But I'm getting close with burglar. I know about 50% of what the skill names are. It's not just the one that's on this button.
Now, Sarissa, you're only burglar, or do you have several of them?
I have several. I've got Sarissa, who's level 90 something. I have her sister Cirilla, who was my Ariad character when Mordor came out, and she's actually stuck in Volume 2 somewhere because I did the tourist thing with that Aria. And I have a burglar on Arkenstone that I occasionally run with Sands and Cinders. That's a male human burglar. So he's basically my master burglar because he's got little hobbit minions that I'm teaching them how the ways of the burglar. That's what those adventures basically are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Feint now allows you to trigger more stealth effects and bonuses of other skills, though it still does not provide true stealth's melee damage bonus. Knives Out was changed substantially. In addition to the usual effects, it now has a small radius force taunt that lasts for the duration of the effect, followed by
an aggro
dump that substantially reduces the burglar's aggro.
Yeah, this was a little weird.
Yes.
It's like burglar gets a force taunt. What? And then it's followed by an aggro dump. So, again, this is one that I really would have loved to test because you go round up a bunch of mobs and see if obviously you need kind of a group to do this. But yeah, being able to grab mobs even briefly and then dump the aggro when somebody else can take over is kind of cool. But yeah, I'm not sure how that's supposed to work.
Maybe it's used for when the burglar wants to go in, start the combat, and then be able to dump it onto the tank immediately afterwards.
Maybe. There's that too. Knives Out is a redline skill, so it's basically it's only available to redline burglars, which is kind of not usually what you're running in a group typically. Yeah, I don't know. It was weird.
Cunning Strike bleeds were cleaned up. They are now short duration, non-stacking bleeds that apply at 4 different magnitudes depending on how hard you crit, +1 from stealth.
Now this I did not like because being able to stack these bleeds was a lot of fun for running all burglar parties. Because we called this the death of 1,000 paper cuts on girls.
Our poor girls burglars
are gonna... my other girl. Yeah, that's my other burglar. Is the girls in Middle Earth have an all burglar kinship. Well, it's not all burglar kinship because we do have other classes in the kinship, but we run an all burglar group, and it's fun to stack that Cunning Strike bleed because you can get like 5 or 6 of them on there, and it's a lot of and basically just watch the target bleed to death.
Pretty much.
It's the death of 1,000 paper cuts.
Okay. You can now have 1 gamble of each type on a target simultaneously, a red, a green, and a blue. I think that's the first one since Mischievous Glee that I actually recognized what they were talking about.
Well, because you tend to run blue line, right? Blue or yellow?
Blue and yellow, yeah. I tend to run blue and yellow. The skills Gambler Strike, Hedge of Bet, and Blind Bet now apply each of the gambles respectively. A blue line burglar stealth surprise attack can now apply a completely random gamble. Gambles can no longer be tiered up or down. They simply roll a new 1 to 6 when reapplied. Okay. Gambles now last a base of 30 seconds. Blue is currently 20 seconds. Cash out eats all gambles on the target, granting high magnitude damage effects, a self, hot, and a stun respectively. In the future, the goal for the magnitude of each of these cash out effects to be based on the total value of the gamble dice on the target when the cash is out. This is currently waiting for a bit of tech, so the current cash out effects can be considered placeholders. Now, they don't say whether they're going to try to get that into the second Borrower build or that's going to wait for a later
update. If we see a second Borrower build.
Well, I have a feeling we are, but we'll have to find that out later. Next week
it depends on whether they only put it up for 1 day or not. We might not see it.
Oh, well, that's what you mean by see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Cash out's cooldown is now a base of 40 seconds. Note that gambles are not per burglar, they are per target, so competing burglars will override or consume each other's gambles.
Yeah, and this is a thing that got a lot of criticism, and I kind of agree with some of the criticism, because basically a lot of these changes have made it so that running multiple burglar parties isn't as viable as it used to be. Because like Girls and Millers running all burglars has been lots of fun, but it sounds like based on these changes, it will become less fun because you're competing with each other for who gets what, especially when like the gamble cash out is a self heal over time. So you basically really have to pay attention to who's doing what so that you're not trying to cash out when somebody else actually needs the heal. Not that I think any of us actually run in blue. I think we've mostly got red and yellow, but it's the same thing with like the cutting strike bleed no longer stacking. It basically sounds like they're trying to limit it so that you only get one or two, maybe two tops burglars in a group, which is not all that, which kind of goes against what Cordovan was saying last week, like they're trying to make it so you can play however you want. Well, this is kind of not playing however you want, because if you want a group of burglars right now, you can, and going forward with these changes, you kind of can't really. I mean, you can, but it'll be a lot less fun and more challenging.
Yeah. We'd have to see if we can survive, because right now we're depending on death of 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah. Sounds like you can get 3 burglars and 1 in each line.
That's still not very much fun, though, because the yellow one will run so much slower.
Yeah, you can't really run a yellow burglar in stealth because you don't have the speed boost.
Well, yeah, you don't have the speed boost in yellow. You've got a point there. So unless you're capped and are going into other trait trees. But yeah, obviously, yeah, lower levels, you're certainly going to be in a lot of trouble and movement-wise. But yeah, I'm just wondering, how do you know the magnitude of the other? Because I know that on the damage one, you see the die pops up, but on the other two, it always looks like it has a different symbol pop up. I never could understand. How do you know the level of the gamble on the other?
I have no idea.
On the other 2 type, I never did quite figure that out.
It probably has to do with the debuff that gets put on the mob, and you probably can hover over it and pay attention that way. And who
you're going to
who has time to do that when you're playing a burglar, because you're right up in the enemy's face?
Yeah. Yeah, cash. Right. Let's see. Gamble icons are they're revamping the gamble icons, so maybe the new icons will make it a lot easier to tell. Knives Out now mitigate all forms of incoming damage. Subtle Stab cooldown reduced from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds, and Gamble Chance mods changed to gamble damage mods.
I love that the Subtle Stab cooldown has been reduced, because honestly we need our cooldowns reduced as much as possible, because it's really hard if you don't get the crit waiting for that skill to come off cooldown so you can hit it again.
Now, Sam said something about he wondered if they'll eventually do the same to parry and block activated skills for Guardians. I'm not too sure at what point he asked that question, because I doubt it would be the same as with the per opponent thing, because with Guardians, it's based. It's a response, so they're parry. So that's the thing that's on the Guardian. It has nothing to do with
that's a Guardian self buff. It's not based on a debuff or buff that's on the mob. So probably not.
Right. So
I'm pretty sure the Guardian skills are safe. I'm pretty sure they've played around with Guardians enough, and they're happy with where Guardians are. There was also a lot of whining because there's nothing in there for like captains or runekeepers and stuff.
Well, they have been saying all along.
They've been saying that they wanted to focus on the burglar because burglar was kind of really broken.
Right. And they are trying to get this in because they wanted to have the burglar update in before the anniversary. Okay, they're talking about the double edge in the crit response is what he was talking about. Let's see. Both double edge strike and flashing blaze are now AoE skills to give burglar better DPS and pools. Is that the double edge strike thing?
Oh,
Well, I
double
can
edge strike
understand.
is AoE.
Yeah, it could be, yeah, because there's sometimes you're wondering, okay, does Burger really want AoE skills?
Well, I mean, it only hits 3 targets, so. But apparently, it doesn't have to have a target in order to be able to use the skill. So unless you're right there in the mix with stuff, you could potentially waste the skill because it doesn't actually require you to have a mob targeted.
Okay.
Unlike, weirdly, some of the champion AoEs require you to have a mob targeted, and they're like the 360 AoEs, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
Not only you have to have a mob targeted and be facing said mob, despite the fact that the skill you're trying to use is going to swing around and hit them anyway.
Yeah. And I think the reason why Sam doesn't like it is because you're forced, because double edge strike is a skill that you can't just decide, let's skip this skill because it's most likely a skill that you're going to do in order to get your next level on the crit chain. But
Yeah, but
anyway,
they
those,
didn't say anything about its effects on the crit chain. They just said they were making it.
yeah, I think it's bad he did about the fact that's a AoE, maybe didn't want an AoE skill in the crit chain or something like that.
I think that's where your AoE skill should be, is in the crit chain. For a burglar.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe
Sam will clarify
you need
that
to get
when
the
we get
crit
back.
to unlock
Yeah.
the AoE, basically.
I think it's not the end of the crit change. I think it's the middle of the crit change.
I don't actually remember.
Yeah, it's yeah. Let's then go into the other announcement they made, and that is that they did a little shuffling on the festivals. Is that the anniversary event has been moved to April 23rd. I might have already announced that one. I don't remember whether that announcement came or after, but they changed the anniversary event to be from April 23rd through May 20th, which is 10 days from the recording of this episode. And because they're pushing the anniversary event back, most likely so they could get this patch in, they have decided to stick in an encore, a week-long encore for the Yule Festival.
Why?
I guess because
I don't understand why Yule. We just had Spring Festival. Bring Spring Festival back.
I guess because
why are we going back to winter?
I don't know. But I guess you've heard because a lot of people were complaining about not getting an encore to the Yule Festival this
whatever.
year. And then there were also probably people complaining about the anniversary event being pushed back for the update. But whatever was the case, the anniversary update has been pushed back a few days, which is why I think that update 23.5 is coming up on April 23rd, because that, or at least that's the date they're targeting, because it coming up then will mean that they could then open up the worlds again with the anniversary event active. So that was my guess on that matter. And yes, for better or for worse, we're going to have a Yule Festival for the week in between. And if you don't like getting cold, then yeah, avoid that area. I think that's everything we have with the update. Of course, the update also includes all the anniversary stuff, which is why it has to be before the anniversary event. And there most likely will be a second Bulber build, because if they weren't playing on a second Bulber build, I would have thought that the update would be next week and they wouldn't have to switch around the anniversary schedule or anything like that. But of course, as Terry says, most likely she'll hear about the second Bulwark build about 2 days after it happens.
Yeah.
Let's then head into The Beacon, issue number 106, where it looks like we have a potentially dangerous bridge. Hey, we have a bridge, and now is that? It very definitely looks elfy. Eridluine, maybe, or is that Rivendell?
I have no idea.
Some elfy place, and in the community spotlight, we have an interview with Standing Stone Games Severlin, written by Druid's Fire. And the Gleaming Thread is a new LOTRO Cosmetics blog. You could check there to see the first post, Blade of Renown. Have you seen this yet, Terry?
Yeah, it was actually really cool.
So any comments? It looks like a champion if there are two swords out.
It is a champion because Blade of Renown is a champion title.
Oh, okay. Then that really fits.
What was really interesting about this blog was that at the bottom where they identify where the pieces come from, they actually have links to the LOTRO wiki entry for each piece.
Okay, that's useful.
Yeah. Of course, they don't make note of whether you can find it somewhere else, but Cosmetic LOTRO doesn't do that either. I do that.
Are these items that are relatively easy to get, or are they going to be real challenging ones to get?
They're kind of all over the place because, like, the Radagast Hooded Cloak is an anniversary award, and some of them you can get from the skirmish camp, and then some of them are quest rewards from, like, Mordor. And the sword actually is it's a drop from one of the Osgiliath instances.
Right. So the Osgiliath one is probably the toughest one.
Yeah.
And the Radagast one, then it's being posted at a reasonable time because if someone does want it, in a couple of weeks they'll have.
Yeah, that cloak will be available in a couple of weeks.
Then we have Sif has posted a Moria slideshow on their blog BioBreak. And Material Miller has posted a new outfit named Barbed Executioner.
Oh, I missed that one.
Maybe because
I missed that one. No, I totally missed that was an entry from Material Middle-earth.
Ah. Tried pairing two distinctly different sets of armor skins and see what they could create.
That's an elf that does not like hugs.
Does not like hugs. Yeah.
Talk to the hand. Does not like hugs. I don't. Way too many spikes.
Way too many spikes. Yeah, I think you got a point there. Oh, many points. Yes.
Lots of points.
Lots of points.
So many points. Pokey, pokey, pokey. There's even points on the bow. That's cool.
Yeah, it looks like one of these is from the LOTRO store. 3 of them are from the High Enchanter. One's from the Dwarf Holds Rewards Quarter. Very definitely not easy things to find.
This is a crafted bow. That's really pretty, but it's crafted. So super easy to get.
The bow is, yes, the weapons seem to be things that are relatively easy to get. The outfit is the tough bit. And for our Kin Hall this week, Victory's Secret is an honor kinship dedicated to naked adventuring. That is playing with no armor or jewelry for those seeking more challenging Challenge and landscape play. This turns out to be incredibly fun. We're a small, friendly group that is eager to help folks who are inexperienced at grouping. Current members are located in the United States and Europe, so we can play in many time zones. We have a kitten house in the Shire neighborhood, totally naked, okay? And with all crafting stations. Join us to bear the unbelievable and unbearable and feel the breeze. Contact Borax, Ray Baj, and Artis on Honor if interested. No armor or jewelry. Whee! All right. I don't know how much I don't know how success, because it sounds like it'd be a challenge. We can see no armor. I'm trying to think, how do you tank with no armor?
Very carefully.
Very carefully. Or from a great distance, I suppose.
Well, there is that. Because, yeah,
with a really good healer naked behind you. I don't know.
Yeah, because that's what
you
what
let
sounds
Runekeeper,
like.
stones, and pets do the tanking. Lore Master pets.
I suppose that could be done. You get a point there. Then for our week, actually they do talk about landscape play in general, so it could be that they only hold that rule for landscape and not for when doing instances.
Fair. Don't pick on anything that needs tanked. I mean, that would work.
Well, if you got a large enough group, you might be able to take out something that's large enough, but certainly don't try to solo anything that needs to.
At least they're still using weapons. I mean, really, the weapon
that
is
does
the
help.
important part.
Yeah, weapons help a little bit.
They help kind of a lot, finally. As somebody who plays a champion, I can tell you that disarm sucks. I want my weapons.
Yeah, well, having been disarmed enough on my warden, I will have to agree with that. Those bearers of blights can be a real pain. For our weekly comment, LOTRO will be turning 12 soon. How would you celebrate this year?
Logging in all my characters to find out what I got in my gift box.
You only need one character to log in to find out what's in your gift box.
Okay, true. But I need a reason to log in all my characters to check the mail.
That's true. I'm looking forward to seeing what the year 12 scavenger hunt is.
Oh, yes.
Ooh, that could be fun.
Maybe I can go back and finish some of the ones that I haven't actually managed to complete yet.
In fact, my answer was going to be, I'm going to do some Tales, Trifles, and Travels, which of course means the scavenger hunt. Because yes, knowing what the 12, especially since they said that the 12th is going to be the finale for that series.
Oh, okay.
For the fan site news, we've got Lore and Laughter with Middle-earth Maiden, Winnie's Musings on Middle-earth, watch more with more dwarves with the Dwarf Scholar on Laurel and Erluine D. Devent. Watch Mythgard of Middle-earth with the Tolkien Professor. Gondor has no druids with Druid's Fire. Epic Shenanigery with Tesla the Panda. Adventures After Dark with Big Ed Mustafa. And watch LOTRO, the Valville edition. And our screenshot of the week, we have lots of fireworks and kites. The screenshot of the week is a shot of the beautiful player-held event at Rosalie Rumble posted by Magnum Theppi.
This was a memorial event that happened over the weekend.
Ah, all right. Yeah, so setting off the fireworks in the memory of the player that passed. And that concludes our LOTRO Beacon for this week. Let's then head into our store sales. Terry?
Oh, my favorite stuff is on sale. Actually, probably my second favorite stuff because I really hate the LI sales. But this comes in a close second to stuff I hate to see on sale. 30% off some crafting stuff. Crafting guild access, ingredient packs, crafting accelerators, rapid craft, crafting tiers, recipe books. And the weekly coupon gets you a Slayer Deed accelerator for 60 minutes with coupon Slayer Deed now through April 18th.
I'm going to say rapid craft is awesome sometimes, especially if you already have a stack of materials that you've got to get through and you've got somewhere to be. You can go through quite a few materials with rapid craft.
And I just set it up and walk away.
Well, you could do that too. But especially if you happen to be in a time crunch and feel like maybe you should stick around closer than that, or need to shut down your computer soon, but you've got to get through these 500 hides or whatever it is you have, or if you're trying to level crafting for somebody from, like level 1 to Doomfold, or Ironfold, and you have the materials, but that takes forever, and that's like almost as bad as 42 days in Minas Tirith for 1 LI. Yeah, you can use rapid craft to greatly decrease the amount of time that you spend crafting. I'm just saying, that's one of the best crafting things that I have ever found in the store, and the only one that I've bought recently. Well, I guess within the last year and a half.
Alright. Then let's head into our site news, and we are going to begin with an article by Andang, who had an interview with Turbine's founder. With Turbine's founder, Johnny Monsarto. Right, and anyone want to comment on that? I'll take that as a no. So
I didn't actually have a chance to watch it.
I haven't had internet access for most of the week, so I also haven't watched it.
Well, there is that point. Then let's get into installment number 3 of Where in Middle-earth is Emeralina? And she's passing out, apparently.
Yeah, passing out somewhere.
Yeah. Where that somewhere is, it looks like, is that a bed or?
It is a bed somewhere.
It is a bed somewhere.
It's just a question of where. The problem I have with this image is I can't get it to pop out, so I can't really examine it closer.
Yeah. Is there any way for, just from, why don't they pop out? Because usually, sometimes on images, I could double click on it and it will give me a larger version.
I can play with the settings and see if I can figure it out.
Oh, there's probably no link tied to it, perhaps.
I would guess there's no link to it.
Well, it has to be at least one link to it. There's probably a link to show the image, but not a link in order to click it and look at it a larger way. Of course, we have access to the library inside, so we can always...
I was just going to say, if you can figure out how to make it so it will pop out, by all means, try it and then tell us how, because...
Well, first I have to make sure that that's not against any rules that Emeralina has.
No, we just couldn't figure out how to do it, and we were on a time crunch, so...
Alright, so I'll see if I can figure something out so that we can get that to work. But that's installment number 3, and I've already given you the hint that shows her fainting on a bed.
And she also identified the previous week's image as Tom Cotton's farm in Hobbiton Bywater, which I didn't realize had shrews on it during the spring festival.
Yeah, because there's a quest where you get sent there to various places to ask them how they deal with shrews.
Right.
And obviously, Tom Cotton isn't exactly the most
Is he
successful in getting rid of them.
Is he the guy that has all the cats that he's trying to sick on the shrews?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not as bad as Sanson, because Sanson is just says to talk
winter's
about how
coming.
winter's coming.
It's so cold.
Like, the shrews can understand you.
Right?
I mean, Tom Cotton just had a bunch of cats that were not interested at all in chasing shrews. Shrews were bigger than the cats.
Yeah, and it's so funny him talk about winter coming and stuff like this when we are in the spring festival. And winter is just.
I know.
Though this time he's actually right. Winter is coming next, so you know.
Was that a snowflake? Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, regardless of why, the Yule Festival is coming back for an encore now, so he was kind of right.
Well, then, actually, I think my main character never did finish that winter skirmish deed by getting all of the encounters, so it'll be my chance to do that. That'll be a consolation for it, if I remember. Let's head into our weekend LOTRO then. And Sans Gwenda, I know your computer was down, but did you get any time in?
I got some time in. My burglar reached level 81, well, my highest level burglar reached level 81, and helped the people of Eoworth, and chose not to support Gora, who, seems slightly sketchy. Based both on her conversation and on past experience, you know. Terry,
Right.
How was your week?
I got lots done, but I really only played one character, so it's just the one thing. So I mentioned last week that Laurel and Terry had started Volume 3, and had made it into Enidwaith. So I made it through, like, most of Dunland, actually. And I did, again, I was super focused. But it's interesting because when you've done the story a couple of times, and I do Dunland a lot because I actually really like the Dunland story, and more importantly, I like the Dunland cosmetics, which was super important for this playthrough because on Laurelin, I really have nothing in my wardrobe. Like, I think when I picked up my Laurelin character again, I had 10 things in the wardrobe, and it was just sad. Because you can't copy over your shared stuff to the EU servers. So all of my stuff that I can copy around to the North American servers, I don't have on Laurelin. So it was a lot of fun going through and just questing, mostly on level, surprisingly. Which it's been for a long time since I've done Dunland on level. I think the last time who did Dunland on level was Sarissa, because she had a tortoise stone that kept her there. So I did came in through the Stag Clan, so that's not awkward at all because my Laurelin Terry is a Rohan Terry, so she's wearing the Rohan pre-order armor where you really look like you're one of the Rohirrim, and you have to do that instance in the Stag Clan village, where they talk about how awful the horse lords are, and yeah, that's not awkward at all when you're sitting there dressed in full Rohan regalia and you're like, yeah, okay, sure, I'll just be over here in the corner, and they're asking you to hand them the ceremonial items and stuff. Yeah. Awkward. Really, really awkward. But by the time I got down to the Dunbog, I had actually started to amass enough of a armor collection to get something that didn't quite look so out of place. I did like most of Dunland. I did all of the side quests everywhere except by the time I hit the Gravenwood, I was level 73, and I did the first series of quests with Amlan, where the Eyes in the Forest stuff, where you're heading into the Gravenwood for the first time. And then decided not to continue with the second half, which is the Old Woman of the Mountain stuff, partly because I didn't do that stuff in Enidwythe, and really if I'm going to do it, I'd like to pick it up back in Enidwythe and just follow the whole story, so I will go back at some point and do that. And then I focused on the epic again, and got sent to Isengard for my guest stay. That's super great, being a guest at Isengard. 1 of 10, would not recommend, but I decided this time that it gets half a star because they let me keep my gear, and that's super useful because I did the Isengard thing in an hour. Because I know I've now done Isengard enough times to know that while you're on the tour, if you start to slow down, you just have to find a red dot that is a surly Uruk who doesn't like the fact that you're wandering around. And if you kill him, you get a 5-second speed boost. And then if you happen to be on a fetch and carry quest, you get super, super speedy for the duration of the fetch and carry quest. It's like zoom! So I zoomed through Isengard, and killed lots of surly Uruks and kind of really wasn't all that upset about it. The rats are still there. Impressive spawn time on the rats, actually, because usually I have a hard time finding enough rats before I've hit the end of the barracks. And this time I actually found enough rats before I hit the end of the barracks and turned around. And then the rats were respawning by the time I turned around, so I think maybe they added 10 rats, or more than 10 rats, because you have to kill 10 rats, but I think they added more rats. So yeah, that definitely drops the score down for the Middle-earth Tourism Bureau. And then I staged a jailbreak just before we went live on the podcast. So yeah, I'm getting set to go back up into Talmouth Edris and whip some Falcon Clan butt. And then prepare for tragedy, because I know that that's coming. I have tissues at the ready, so by next week you guys can expect to hear that I cried yet again during that Sayedra. Oh, it's so emotional. I think I've done that instance about 7 or 8 times now, and I cry every time. It's so sad. So yeah, that was me. Pineleaf, how was your week?
Let's then begin with what I did on Honor, where I managed to complete 3 major deeds. The first one is the Trollshaw's Maida deed, where I finally managed to take care of the last of those Slayer deeds there. Getting all the going into the Giants territory and killing all the Giants. I said, all right, I'm not going to wait until I do Fort of Bruinen 50 times before I get enough Giants in order to complete that deed. So I just went to Giants territory, and
yeah, that's kind of the luck of the draw for Fort of Bruinen. You don't always get Giants, or you don't get very many necessarily.
Right. I think I decided to do that after I think the last time before doing this that I did Fort of Bruinen, I got exactly 1 Giant. And I know that I got exactly 1 Giant because when I went to the Giant Valley, I got the other 5 for the quest. So we had that happen. The other one I finished was Hot Shot, which means completing 500 tasks. I think that might be maybe the second or third character where I've managed to reach that milestone, which means, yes, let's go to the task board 500 times. And I managed to finish all of the non-epic skirmish encounter deeds. Since I haven't gone to Moria yet, I obviously haven't opened up any of the epic skirmishes yet. So at least I have that half of the skirmishes done, because I believe my goal for this year was to get halfway to Skirmisher Middle-earth, and doing all the non-epic ones is the halfway point exactly, because there are 9 epic ones and 9 non-epic ones if we disregard Survival Barrel Downs. Then, during the field trip, since Sanswinda couldn't make it due to having no internet or being at a conference, or probably a combination of those two.
Both.
Both, yes. the ones who did arrive dusted off our Ivenden characters, which had me on a burglar. We were sat here trying to play the burglar here just before the revamp, and you know how playing the burglar is like. It's you're playing a burglar with a lore master and a hunter. It's like, okay, when do I have a chance to actually hit anything?
You go find all the treasure.
Well, there is that. They've sort of made that joke too. He says, why do they need to revamp the burglar? You just go around finding the treasure while everybody else is killing everything. That's what their response was. Then on Friday Night Fight, first we ran Silent Street since that was the featured instance. I gave my input that it was not exactly on my list of favorite instances. But since a lot of people there hadn't done it before, they said, all right, let's try Silent Street and see what we can do. We decided that since we weren't experienced with it, we would run it at level 115, I believe. And we were still pounded to a pulp. It did not, yes, it did not make me feel any better about this instance than I felt before that time in there. We started out on the wrong foot, as Terry Adwin has so much mentioned in the past too, because Terry and I did it together on the first one along with the group with Andang, and I don't know who else was in that group, but that was a brutal incident, and last night reminded me of the wonders of doing that one.
Oh.
What?
I'm sorry. I remember how awful that was.
Oh, you. Yeah, okay. You're wondering what I was talking about at first?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. Anyway, we got to the boss fight, and no, we couldn't do the boss. Now, what we had in our group were 2 wardens, 2 wardens. What were the other characters we had in there? 2 wardens, a runekeeper, 2 champions. Was there I think there might have been a 6th in. I can't remember what the 6th was. But that's sort of the type of party that we had. So it wasn't exactly the optimal setup, I think, that you could have for that instance, because it was brutal. After that, so we decided, how about doing something that's easier, meaning that we could actually complete. So we ran the Way of Smiths and then Attack at Dawn. And that was my week in LOTRO. So let's see what our news beyond LOTRO is, where for Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth, they have announced their first expansion, the Eriador Figure Action Pack, which is some Villains of Eriador in there, which contains 3 figures and several cards to add to the Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. Journeys in Middle-earth is due to be released this coming week, I believe. Either this week or early next week where it is being released. And so I know they're not quite have the Journeys in Middle-earth released yet, but they've already announced the first expansion, which apparently is pretty much par for the course for Fantasy Flight games. And that is it for this week. We currently have 20 supporters on Patreon, and if you'd like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast of your choice, or even be guest with us for an episode of LOTRO Players News. This week we did not receive any emails, but if you'd like to send us one, you can send it to podcast@LotroPlayers.com. You can also follow us on Twitter. Players Alliance @PlayersAlliance, LOTRO Players @LOTRO Players, Arendis @Arendis, Pineleaf @PineleafNeedles, Sandwinda @Sandwinda, and Terry Adwin @Terry Adwin. The Players Alliance has 2 shows. On Thursdays at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have DDO Players News, and on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have LOTRO Players News. You can join us for our live shows at LOTROPlayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight, and this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.